Okay, I think we're just going to start, and then for anyone else who's joining late, they can just catch up. But hi everyone, I'm Betsy. I'm one of the managers here at Plandek. Thank you for all joining. So the webinar today is looking to explore why tracking delivery at scale is difficult, and how a new feature, Deliver Epics, can help solve the delivery issues experienced by many of you today. So the way that we'll run things today, so first we'll have a look at why tracking delivery at scale is so difficult. And then we'll talk about the reality gap. And the reality gap is something which I like to think of as the core consequence, which results from the challenges of tracking delivery at scale. And ultimately, what the reality gap is it's the difference between what ticketing tools like your Jira or your ADO is telling you versus what is actually really happening on the ground. And then once we've done with those two sections, which I imagine will take around 10 minutes or so, I'll launch into a demo of Deliver Epics. And Deliver Epics, we hope, will enable you to help bridge that reality gap by giving you one clear, real-time view of delivery across your organization. And then to close, we'll do a short summary, and I'll leave time for questions at the end. But I'd love to keep the session as interactive as possible. So as we go, please feel free to drop any questions into the chat, and I'll either pick them up during the demo if they fit, or we can cover them off all at the end. I imagine the session will run for around 30 minutes maybe, and so we'll have time for questions at the end. So let's jump in. So why is tracking delivery at scale so difficult? So we all know that working in software businesses, and especially for larger organizations, at the roadmap level, organizations want to make big bets via their initiatives. And obviously your initiatives are your large scale pieces of work. So for example, you might have an initiative for payments modernization or next gen platform or AI enablement. And it's these initiatives that really drive the business forward. And because so much time and resource is invested from our development teams into these initiatives, executives want to have a really clear answer for, are we on track to land this? But when you look closer and when we're actually really trying to answer that question, there seems to be around 4 consistent challenges that appear again and again when delivery teams are trying to answer that question and report on the work that they're doing to ensure it sticks to proposed deadlines. So the first issue that we find is that sometimes those big initiatives can splinter into chaos, and that's because those big bets aren't just one perfect, neat piece of work that's undertaken by one team, but actually they might be broken down into dozens of different epics or releases, and they're spread across multiple different teams. And so suddenly you might end up having 50 epics across 12 teams, and each of them are being tracked in its own Jira board or your own ADO board. And so all of that data is really separated out. Obviously, each team can report on their own progress, but obviously what leaders really need is to have one centralized view of whether that whole initiative or whole piece of work is actually on track. And I think that's really difficult to do with the functionality that's currently on offer by ticketing systems like Jira or ADO. The second issue is that a lot of the delivery data is really fragmented. So obviously you find all of your ticketing data in Jira or ADO or whoever you use, You might use GitHub for code, CI/CD for deployments. Incidents might be in another tool. And then you've got spreadsheets everywhere that you're trying to use to really predict what delivery is going to look like. And this becomes problematic because there's no single source of truth that ties all of these different systems together to give you a really good understanding of what delivery is going to look like. And I think a classic example that I always come across is that obviously in Jira, you can see ticket updates. It tells you if your epic is in progress. But actually, if you went and checked GitHub, you might see that you've got PRs that haven't been touched for weeks, or you might see that some of your pipelines are failing in CI/CD and it's blocking deployment. And obviously, Jira has absolutely no awareness of this. So you're using Jira or ADO to actually report on delivery, then what Jira is telling you is going to be very different in reality, as it should be telling you that delivery potentially could be stalled. And it's where the gaps begin between these different tools can quietly start to burn you. The third issue which we see is that reporting is often manual. So teams might often scramble every week to produce leadership updates. I know I've heard from plenty of engineering managers before that they've spent hours exporting Jira data in Excel so that they can generate charts and then paste those charts into PowerPoint for a Monday morning meeting. Or they might just be using Jira dashboards themselves. But the issue with obviously all of this Jira data and Jira dashboards is if you actually ask a real question like, when will this epic actually land, or when will this initiative actually be finished? Jira doesn't actually help you calculate that. You'd have to export the data, do some of your own manual calculations or estimations yourself. And even by the time that you've done this and you've shared your PowerPoint to leaders about delivery data, it's highly likely that that data is actually now out of date, as we all know how quickly tickets move through the development lifecycle. And we definitely don't want, obviously, leaders making decisions about stale data. And then the final issue that we've come across is that we know that executives want predictability, and our ticketing systems can't give that. And they don't care about individual ticket progress. They care about whether those big bets are actually going to land. And so we don't want to see in Jira reports that every epic was on track because people have set their due dates manually, but actually Jira is not reflecting if your scope has doubled and your throughput hasn't kept up. Your ticketing systems just aren't flagging this information. And so it's all of these challenges within delivery reporting at the moment that create this reality gap, which is essentially your ticketing tools or your reporting tools are showing you one thing, but actually what's going on under the hood is completely different. And we usually see this quite often in our day-to-day operations of how these recurring issues, because of the reality gap, come to light. You see your neat Jira boards and roadmaps that show perfect progress, but actually underneath them there might be idle work or missing scope or tangled dependencies. Your work might have paused. Jira is telling you that something's in progress, but actually 80% of the tickets haven't moved in 20 days. And Jira and the other ticketing tools don't actually do anything to raise this alarm until it's already a problem. This also means that your roadmaps don't adapt when reality shifts. So everything looks perfect when actually deadlines are shifting. We don't know that. But also those blockers that I was mentioning earlier, so those dependencies, idle work and scope gap, they're surfaced far too late and they've actually already become a problem, rather than being notified before they do. And I think the biggest the worst thing about all of this is it means that leaders stop trusting what they see, as work is always delivered late, which could cause people to micromanage and disengage. And none of this actually helps to improve delivery and for delivery to succeed. So that's the reality gap. And as we said, it's the difference between what tools say is happening versus what's actually going on. And I hope that those issues obviously speak to a lot of you on this call. And I think what we've uncovered is that there's probably a very simple truth about what leaders and managers actually want to ask. And we believe that there's 3 core questions which we think we want to help organizations to answer who are trying to deliver at scale. And that's firstly, is the right work being worked on? So are we actually focusing on those big bets, the initiatives that matter for the business right now? The second is that work actually on track to be delivered? So are we actually making meaningful progress and not just updating tickets, but will work generally actually be moving to the delivery goals that we've set? And if it's not looking likely that that work will be delivered on time, why is it not going to be delivered on time? If things are on track, can we see the risks clearly enough, early enough, and do something about it? And we think if you can answer these questions with confidence, then you can make a really good go at actually closing that reality gap, so that what you see within your tracking system is actually reflective of what's going on within your teams. And that's exactly what we've tried to do with the development of our Deliver for Ethics page. But before jumping into the demo, I just wanted to quickly recap on a couple of bits to make sure that we're all on the same page. So Deliver for Ethics is an aggregated view that sits on top of your current smart view for ethics. I'm sure everyone on this call is well aware of what Smart View for Ethics is. But if any of you who aren't, Smart View for Ethics is our page which allows you to go and dive into the detail of a single ethic. So you can explore that ethic's progress, potential blockers, and the overall delivery health of that ethic. And when we built Deliver for Ethics, our goal wasn't to give you yet another roadmap or Gantt chart that shows what's meant to happen. It's really aimed to help you answer real delivery questions that execs and teams care about week to week. And so in this demo, I'm going to work through those 3 main questions which I highlighted earlier. So how Deliver Ethics will allow you to track that the right work is being worked on, that work is on track to be delivered on time, and if it's not on track to be delivered on time, why is it not, and what do I need to do to fix this? So I'm just going to jump into a different screen. Perfect. So when you first land on our Deliver for Ethics page, you'll be able to see all of your active and upcoming ethics in one place. So for all of those ethics, you'll easily be able to see the progress that's being made on them via this progress bar, their planned delivery dates, scope, estimated delivery date, which is generated by us, and their risk score. So it's essentially allowing you to be able to have an overview of ethic progress all in one place. When you're accessing Deliver Ethics, depending on who you are and what you want to be using the page for, you can either choose to access the page from the top level of the hierarchy, so from your all organization view, where you can see data across your whole organization, or if you're a engineering manager and you just want to be able to look at the data for your specific team, that you can navigate to your specific workspace and view the Deliver Ethics page from there. Here in this demo, I'm at the top level of the organization. So here you can see we've got 256 to do, so upcoming and active epics. The page is automatically sorted by projected delivery date. So the most imminent work is at the top. So this is based off our calculation. So this is when we will estimate these epics to be completed. You'll have the ability to scroll or to sort by various columns, or you can filter to quickly find what matters most to you. If you're an executive or a leader within your organization, then what we really wanted to do with this page was obviously enable you to answer that big question of, are we actually working on the big bets that matter the most? You should instantly be able to see this via the initiative filter. So here we pull in the initiatives from Jira, and if you filter by a particular initiative, then you can see the epics that are associated to that initiative and the progress that's being undertaken by each one of those epics, and also get a better understanding of when that will be estimated to be delivered. Obviously, it's very useful to have a view which displays all of your to-do and active epics. But in reality, we know that most people don't want to scroll through hundreds of epics to actually get an understanding of what's going on. Each people or each person, depending on whether you're a product manager, an engineering manager, a delivery manager, you all care about different collections of epics, whether that's epics that should be delivered in a particular quarter, if it's a group of epics dictated by an initiative or release, or it's just specific teams' work. And that's where views come in. So the beauty of a view is that it reflects how you actually think about delivery and how you want to track it. So for example, if I am part of the leadership team and I've come to this page and I want to understand for Q3, what have we got planned to be delivered? I could come to this date picker and I could search for the next 12 weeks, look at what's planned to be delivered, and then apply that filter. Once I've done this, I then can instantly see that we have a number of epics that should be planned to be delivered. I can then choose to create a view with those epics associated to it. So I can choose to select all of these epics here, give my view a name. And then once I've created that specific view, that view is then saved against your workspace. So whenever you're next coming back here, you can instantly see the collection of epics that matter to you the most. Other core use cases that we've seen our customers build views for so far are initiative driven, like I was highlighting earlier. The beauty of the way that our view logic works is that we understand in Jira, people sometimes might not keep their Jira hygiene really, really clean. And so you might end up having an initiative with a bunch of epics that actually aren't relevant to that initiative. And so with the ability in views to be able to specifically select the epics which are actually associated to that view, I can filter by an initiative. I can see the associated children epics to that initiative that Jira has dictated. But then if I realize that actually this epic and this epic don't have anything to do with that initiative and I don't want to track them together within our system, then I can do that. So you've just got a lot more flexibility when you are creating these views, so you're not completely locked into Jira's tight issue type hierarchy. So you can actually be really flexible with the type of views you create. We've also seen other customers building views with multiple sets of initiatives in, and this is what would usually roll up to be a specific theme. So you can track big swathes of work within these views, and it's really easy to do so. Another classic use case that we've seen is that a lot of our customers are building release-focused views. So for epics that are associated to specific views, they might search epics that they know have those associations. So there's release 1, and then they can actually track the delivery of that specific release over time. Because of the popularity of this specific use case, we are also going to add an initiative, a release filter to this page as well. So you can quickly find any epics associated to a release and then create a view off the back of that. And finally, the last use case that we've seen has been very common for our customers is specific teams wanting to create views that are associated to them. So here, I might find all of the epics that are associated to a particular team. So I've got my Hydra team. And again, it then means that specific teams can just track the specific epics which are relevant to them. Now, if you're close to the work, you obviously can easily build the views you need as you really understand, I suppose, the structure of your epics within the ticketing system where importing your data from. But if we're honest, lots of people within leadership, or if you're in an exec, being able to navigate which epics are relevant is probably really difficult. And so what we've been suggesting to customers is to create a workspace, and within that workspace, for particular teams or delivery managers to actually build views that they know their leadership team will care about, and they will maintain those views. And then for when leadership want to come and track to see how delivery is tracking, they can come and look at this page, review the different views that have been created for them. And this has been a really nice way for them to actually be able to utilize this page without being completely close to the epic data that obviously your engineering managers and your delivery managers would be close to. And so what we've seen this means is that for engineering managers and delivery managers, you will have your own specific team views, but then also the views that you maintain for the people that you report to. And if they're accessing Plandek to look at that, or they're screenshotting those views to share to them, either or. But it's just a great way to obviously centralize all of that delivery tracking data in one place, and for it to always be up to date. And so just to summarize in that first question of how deliver epics makes it easier to answer that first question of is the right work being worked on. So obviously views bring you focus, so you can ensure that you can see the work that is important to you. You're no longer tied to Jira's rigid issue type structure. As with this flexibility, it means that you're always looking at the work that actually matters right now, not just whatever the Jira hierarchy happens to show you. And for executives, the nightmare of navigating, obviously, your massive ticketing systems is reduced, and teams can actually surface that right context for you. So the big bets are always crystal clear to them. So the next question I wanted to go on to was how deliver epics can help people answer whether all of this work is actually on track. So here we can see that I am in Q3 deliverables, and you can see that for each one of the views that you've created, that you have various different summary widgets at the top here. So here you can see your particular view of the epics that are within this view, how many of my epics are at risk. Of those epics, is delivery slipping, or is it on time, or is it ahead? And finally, looking at epic progress. So how far through each epic are you actually? And this is looking at by status. So this is the status that your epic is in within the ticketing system. Or we've also created this by activity status. So we're obviously well aware that you can't just measure progress based off the status within your JIRA or your ADO epic status. And so we wanted to show both of these. So this is solving a problem that we know a lot of people don't actually keep their epic statuses up to date. And so we wanted to be able to shed a light into whether there is actual activity occurring within that epic or not. So here you can see that we've got 3 statuses. So we will say whether your epic has no activity, it has activity, or it has paused activity. So paused activity means that we've noticed that there was activity within your epic, but actually over the past 2 weeks, there has been no activity at all. Has activity means that there is regular updates within the epic, and no activity means there hasn't been any activity. But this is, I think, a really great feature because we all know that those JIRA and ADO statuses alone can often be very misleading. And so it's a far truer signal of real progress if we can actually tell you if we can see activity within that epic itself. So for instance, here I can see that my work for this epic obviously started, but then it's paused for a particular reason. And I can always drill down into Smart View, which you're all accustomed with, to get a better understanding of why has that activity actually paused. So we not only try and help you understand, obviously, is it on track from the estimated delivery date, just giving you a blase if it's behind, on time, or ahead. And we also try to indicate the number of days in which your epic has slipped by. And this is a really great indication of how well teams are tracking against the work. So you'll be able to see how many days ahead we think you'll deliver versus the planned delivery date, or how many days behind this work will be. And so when we're looking at this page, it's really easy to actually see for my collections of work and my view, what is actually on track to be delivered on time, what's behind time, and therefore you can quickly find the specific epics which you might need to target or chat to the engineering managers to actually get a better understanding of why is this work behind and what can we do to improve it. And so to summarize that second question, Deliver Epics helps you answer is it on track by the summaries that we display at the top of the page that give you an instant health snapshot of all of the epics within your particular view. Our activity status cuts through your ticketing system's false signals, and so you don't have to be tied to the particular status that users are moving the epics to. And finally, your updates that you're giving to senior management on when things are actually going to be delivered can be a lot more accurate, as you're not judging it just off the progress that's happened. We're actually using all of the data under the hood to give you some really great delivery intelligence to understand when things will actually be delivered. So it's really grounded in live and trustworthy data that you can share both within the team and above. And the final question, so if stuff isn't on track, how can Deliver Epics help you quickly understand why? So if we look at the Deliver for Epics page, you'll be able to see that there are particular badges which we display throughout the table, which aim to give you a bit of a better understanding of why delivery might be behind. So here, if I filter this page to grab all of my epics that are either behind time or don't have an estimation. And I sort by estimated delivery. I can see, for instance, that we have particular epics that are planned to be delivered. So if I look at this epic here, I've got my quarter data ingest, which is planned to be delivered or was planned to be delivered on August 1st, but it says there's no scope left. So here, this is signaling to me that actually the work has probably been done, but there's a Jira hygiene issue that the team hasn't actually closed down that particular epic. Or if I look at a epic which is meant to be upcoming soon, so if we have a look, well, for instance, here, this epic was meant to have been planned to be delivered on June the 29th. And so I would have expected to see that scope or tickets had been created for this particular epic. I can start asking questions about why was scope never planned for this particular epic. And so these badges start painting a bit more of a better picture so you can understand potentially why delivery might fall behind before the work actually starts. In addition to this, you might, for instance, want to be able to see if any of your epics are currently in progress, but don't have any scope. So I could start asking questions that, why has this epic been put in development when no work has actually been done? And so again, it just raises additional questions to be asking particular teams about if they're actually planning their work properly, or is it just the Jira data hygiene issue where people just aren't actually managing their workflows within Jira correctly? But either or, it's obviously pointing you in the right direction to start asking the questions to start improving on delivery. Another great use case that we've seen customers using is that if, for instance, I wanted to be able to see the next 4 weeks which epics are upcoming. So again, here I can see that all of these epics are meant to be starting within the next 4 weeks. But again, I can see that 2 of these epics haven't actually got any scope. And so again, I can start either chatting to the product managers who are in charge of those particular epics to get a better understanding of why they haven't built any scope, or if they actually think that this planned delivery date is actually completely inaccurate, and therefore they need to update it, and obviously rethink when that delivery date could actually be. And with these badges, I think not only are they helping you signal obviously delivery and potential delivery issues, but it's really, really great for signaling data hygiene issues within your ticketing systems. So a lot of our customers have said that they have noticed some issues with lots of their teams not actually managing Jira properly. And by using this page, they can quickly see if people are overloading their epics. So people might be adding way too many story points to particular epics, which don't actually need them. They might be mismatching statuses. So here, you could note that people are finishing their epics, but they're not actually ever closing them. You can see there's no scope left. Everything's been finished. But that status is still new. So it's just a really great way for teams to actually come in, have a look to see what all of their to-do and in-progress epics are within the page, and they can see if anything can be closed down or tidied up. So it means that the hygiene of your related ticketing system can definitely improve. And so I think this is another massive benefit of the page, that a lot of these problems will stay hidden until it potentially could blow up downstream and start impacting delivery. And so to summarize on that third question, so obviously deliver epics makes it easy to answer. If not, why not? You've got the quiet risk signals that allow you to catch issues early. Your Jira hygiene problems can get flagged automatically, but also you can still explore all of your smart view risk factors, which obviously bring through the other data points from your other systems, so you can get a really good understanding of what is actually potentially going to throw your epic off the course of the projected delivery date. And so these are all just really great signals to show you if stuff isn't looking like it's going to be delivered on time, then what specific issues do we need to start investigating and fixing. So to bring it all back together, we obviously started today with discussing the reality gap, which is that painful difference between what your tools say is happening and what's actually happening on the ground. Also your Jira boards or your ticketing systems, your roadmaps might show very neat timelines, but actually the reality is that there's a lot of fragmented data, manual reporting, and risk surfacing too late, which is really making delivery tracking hard. And so with Deliver Ethics, we're really hoping that we can close that gap by helping you answer those 3 questions, which is the right work being worked on? Is it on track? And if it's not, why is it not on track? And so hopefully this will enable you to stop having to scramble to make manual reports or debating if your Jira data can be trusted. And you can finally have one clear real-time view that you can rely on, which means that you can get the predictability that your leadership teams want. Teams can have clarity, and delivery conversations can shift to proactive problem solving in line with the risks that we've highlighted, as opposed to more defensive reporting about the numbers. So that's it. So that's Deliver Ethics. So obviously a single trustworthy view that closes the gap between planning and reality. I can see we've got 5 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions? Come back. See if there are any questions. And obviously, if anyone has any additional questions after this call, then feel free to speak to either myself or reach out to your CSM, and we can also share some more details about specific use cases people have implemented within the page for those views, and we can also share some additional details about where we see the page going in the future. But if no one's got any questions, then we can leave it there. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.